Greetings, everyone. Today I want to talk to you about Lucien Agniel's book, The Late Affair Has Almost Broken My Heart, The American Revolution in the South, 1780 to 1781. This book is basically a narrative of the Southern campaign of the American War for Independence. I'll start by saying that this is probably not a good book for scholars or professional historians because Agniel doesn't include footnotes or information about where he got his information. Now he does explain towards the latter chapters about some primary source documents that were published after the war, and he probably got a lot of information from there, but it's not written in the typical scholarly fashion of including footnotes or endnotes with each chapter. But it is a good book. It tells a good story. So if you're a hobby historian or someone who's just interested in the American War for Independence, especially in the South, it is a very good book. It is written in a scholarly manner as far as how the chapters are sort of broken down. So he starts with an introductory chapter where he highlights the background of four important characters, and those characters are Daniel Morgan, Nathaniel Greene, Charles Cornwallis, and Bannister Tarleton. So he talks a little bit about their background, their upbringing, their prior military experience, and then he begins with chapters where he looks at, the Siege of Charleston, the Battle of Camden, Battle of Cowpens, and Guilford Courthouse, and so on and so forth. And it really, looks at the last year of the war in the Southern theater in an interesting way. And anyone who's interested in that topic would probably benefit from reading this book. I do want to say this. This is an older book. This book was published in the 70s. And typically you wouldn't get a book review for a book written in the 70s, especially, unless it's some, book that's considered part of the canon that every historian has to read or whatever. But I know I have a lot of people on this channel who aren't professional historians. They just want to learn more about these topics that we cover, and a lot of that's colonial America and the American Revolution, especially in the South. But the way I got this book, there was a library, a public library, that was not closing, but getting rid of a lot of older books so they could put new materials in the library. And I just want to say, I don't want to make this too controversial, but I was able to acquire several books, and these are books about people like Jefferson and Madison, and books about battles and campaigns of the American Revolutionary War, and these were books about Indians and the frontier. And they were getting rid of these books to put books in those places that are not history books. They are books that sort of promote alternate lifestyles. And I'm not any book deserves a place in the library. A library should be a place where people could go find, all kinds of books. But the fact that, we're basically throwing away these history books, it's almost saddening, it saddens me because it's like we want to throw away, our nation's history. And, and I got these books, and I'm glad I have them, and I'd never heard of the book, so I read it. The title of the book, the title, The Late Affair Has Almost Broke My Heart. This is a quote from Cornwallis after the Battle of Cowpens. And if you don't know much about the Battle of Cowpens, you should watch my video about continuity of fire at the Battle of Cowpens, and you will maybe have a better understanding of the battle. As you know, if you've seen that video, or if you know anything about the Battle of Cowpens, Cornwallis was not at Cowpens. He was not present at that battle, but news of the battle, he said, almost broke his heart, because in many ways, it was the turning point in the South. Kings Mountain was another turning point in the South. Kings Mountain and Cowpens are fairly close geographically. They're not that far apart. You could visit both parks in one day if you wanted to do a speed run through it. But I think it's a good book. If you want to learn more about the American War for Independence in the South, it's definitely a book to read. Now, it does focus on the main armies, the regular armies, and of course they were supplemented by militia. But you're not going to get a whole lot of the partisan campaigns with guys like Thomas Sumter and Francis Marion and stuff like that. But it's a good book, and it's an older book, but it's worth a read, especially if you're interested in that topic. Thank you.